Hello, and welcome to this episode of Frankie's Cultural Observations. Today, we're going to be analysing corporate girlies. In the absence of collective politics, corporate girlies emerge from the rubble, lip-glossed, loyal to the shareholders, and live, laugh, latte. Capitalism's tendency to absorb social movements means feminism is being HR approved, stripped of structural critique, and turned into a hashtag. With liberation individualised, corporate girlies speak the language of empowerment while muttering exploitation under their breath, so their boomer CEOs won't overhear them and realise they're not actually the receptionists. Corporate girlies are at the end stage of optimization. An efficient biohacking productivity machine in kitten heels, a software that runs on cortisol, M&S meal deals that are kinda healthy, and a fear of outshining their higher-ups who sign their paycheck and ask them about their body count. That's disgusting. Corporate girlies don't unionise. They manifest a promotion, put in a 5 to 9 shift after they clock out, and then eat their salad at their desk between client calls. Conditioned by a system that told them ambition equals freedom, all structural inequalities become personal growth journeys, pinkwashed into challenges to overcome with grit, gratitude, and Google Calendar. This is not girl power. It's famine mindset and matcha flavour, with Canva graphics and a motivational quote that says, "Empowered women, empower women," as she silently reproduces the power structure she speaks out against on Twitter and closes the window of the glass ceiling to keep the mosquitoes out. In our hyper-individual culture, corporate girlies are just following a script that tell them they can only perform leadership by disavowing solidarity. Their bio says, "Be kind," even though last week she made an intern cry in the WeWork toilets, because sometimes mentorship looks like traumatizing people who are just out of university, like her own bosses traumatized her, a tactic that she's passed down via intergenerational trauma. Would you like to add to that? No, sure.
The glass ceiling is my enemy.
Corporate girlies don't have time to go to music festivals, so Mental Health Awareness Week becomes their Glastonbury. With a hot lineup of pastries in the boardroom, a breathing workshop, and a keynotes panel about feeling the fear and doing it anyway, featuring a speaker from HR, a corner of the office gets converted into a wellness zone, with essential oils, a few beanbags, and a gratitude wall that has post-it notes that say things like, "Get into work with a kick-ass team," and "Work from home Fridays." This simulation of workplace solidarity doesn't diagnose mental illness, it disguises it beneath a performative pastel-coloured gesture to show how much the company care. As long as you have a corporate-friendly mental illness, like the type of anxiety that makes you smash your deadlines, or a mild depression that only hits during the weekend. Why ask for paid time off or extra accommodations when you can just do a 15-minute guided meditation on healing your inner child and then go back to your desk with a smoothie? In the corporate world, self-care has a shelf life. When employee well-being becomes brand management, wellness is the new wallpaper. So when the house burns down, you'll be left holding a scented candle and a list of positive affirmations. And unsurprisingly, someone has pulled up the ladder. Corporate girlies have to cosplay as their own dads, with blazer on, volume lowered, and femininity muted. In a boardroom that confuses sensitivity with incompetence, the men at the table don't just look like her dad, they think like him too. Interrupting her every time she tries to speak, smirking when she makes a suggestion, and asking if she's dating anyone. Under such conditions, womanhood gets erased. She's not allowed to be emotional, only enthusiastic. Agreeable, but never flirty. Assertive, but only when speaking to the cleaners. Corporate girlies don't rage against the machine. They become the machine, who circles back on budgets, rallies against deadlines, and organises the troops for a coffee morning they legally have to attend. They don't have time to resist patriarchy. They're too busy penciling in face-to-face meetings that could have been done over Zoom. So their revolution will not be outspoken. It'll be rebranded, sanitized into a raw and vulnerable LinkedIn post about imposter syndrome. When personal struggle replaces political analysis, being resilient becomes a substitute for having human rights. When everything gets flattened into images, we see the rise of a type of identity politics that concerns itself with representation and not redistribution. Diversity gets measured in head counts rather than helping hands, love heart emojis rather than power restructuring. Unable to imagine an alternative future, we're stuck simulating protests for brownie points. Inclusion becomes a fashion accessory, a slide on the business deck, rather than a realistic goal to strive towards. What was once liberation has been distilled into sign value, Instagram posts, and congrats on your latest career move, superstar. With no hopes of a living wage, all we get is leadership panels on how to have a healthy work-life balance. What gets sold as progress is just exploitation in an ethically sourced dress, a girly pop mask stretched over the same old corporate machine, making it easier to look at and harder to critique. Can you hold this?